Welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm JJ Jurjevich. Joining me this evening is the one, the only TC Todd Corder on the north side of Atlanta, and of course our fabulous producer Wayne Ridenauer in Memphis, Tennessee. You can find us all at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. And please search for us on Apple and Spotify. Our personal Twitters at JJ Get You One for myself, at RWY Jr. for Wayne, at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder, and at LG for Real Though for Larry Gardner, who is doing his job tonight, doing the PA voice for the Rome Braves. Hopefully they're doing well down on the farm. How's everyone doing? Wayne, we'll go with you tonight, man. How you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. Tomorrow I'll be mowing the lawn, so I don't know if I'll post any of that on Twitter or not. I might just want to get out there and get it done.
I hear you. I'm doing great, but not nearly as great as the dynamic duo of Jokic and Murray. I mean, in Wednesday's night game 3, they were the first duo in NBA history to record two 30-point plus triple doubles in a game. Jokic was also the first player to ever record a 30-point, 20 plus 10 plus assist triple doubles in finals history. The Nuggets lead the series 2-1. Game 4 Friday night, 8:30 Eastern time on ABC. So doing well, but not that well. TC, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing great. Listening to the Braves Mets game here on Fox Sports South or Bally's or whatever in the heck they call it now. Going down memory lane with Smoltz, Glavin, and Chipper, and of course Jeff Francoeur, and our guest Clayton Trutor tonight, who will talk about his book. Can also tell you about these Braves clubs back in the 90s, their dominant run of division titles, and going back in memory lane and the stories and when they ended up eventually playing against each other. Good memories for Atlanta Braves fans.
What's that? Todd mentioned it. We have a special guest, Clayton Trutor, author of Boston Ball, Rick Pitino, Jim Calhoun, Gary Williams, and the Forgotten Cradle of Basketball Coaches. He'll join the show to talk about the book, which is coming to book stands in November. We give our thoughts on the Live PGA Golf Tour merger. Huge news there earlier in the week, and we definitely talk shop about the Braves and go around Major League Baseball. And without further ado, we welcome author of, again, Boston Ball, Rick Pitino, Jim Calhoun, Gary Williams, and the Forgotten Cradle of Basketball Coaches, Clayton Trutor, to the show. Clayton, how you doing tonight, man?
AJ, Wayne, Todd, thanks so much for having me on. JJ, you did a fantastic job with that mouthful of a title I have for the book.
Love it. I mean, these authors, yourself included, are getting intricate with their book titles, and personally, I love it. I mean, I read a book last year called, well, here it is right here. It's Fans, How Watching Sports Makes Us Happier, Healthier, and More Understanding. So you're not the only one.
Well, I think it's because of search engine stuff that they want us to have as many proper nouns in it as possible. And I was told I should have basketball in the title. Originally, it was going to be and college basketball coaches, but they had trouble fitting that on the cover, so they just made it basketball coaches. So there's a lot of I guess committee work on what the title of the book should be.
Pretty soon there'll be hashtags on the book title.
Oh, I fully expect it, and I'll be the first one to do it if it causes too many people to buy the book.
Sell a few more books, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Just call a book hashtag for me.
That was good.
Well, yeah, Clayton, it's good to have you on, and we'll go right into that. That's my first question of the night. Your newest book comes out in November. Tell our listeners what where they can pre-order the book and what to expect out of your latest book.
Well, thank you. If you go to bit.ly, bit.ly/Boston Ball, you can go there, and if you use promo code, let me get my promo code out. It is, I had it all set up before coming on, but I pressed the wrong button. My apologies.
Take your time.
Promo code. Make sure it's my promo code. I'll just go into my Twitter account. Boy, radio can really drag on when someone's looking for a promo code, can it?
Hey, it's all right.
Let's see.
Well,
Yeah, bit.ly / Boston Ball promo code S S FWC23. The reason you'd want to go to that website is Boston Ball is an origin story for modern college basketball. It's about the origins of three of the sport's top coaches who won a combined 6 national titles, went to 13 Final Fours, won over 2,300 Division I games. In Rick Pitino, who got his career started at Boston University as a head coach, Jim Calhoun at Northeastern University, and Gary Williams at BC. All coaching in relative obscurity, they built up a certain style of coaching, approach to running their teams, in particular tending towards a run and gun, fast breaking style, trapping, pressing, which was very against the norm in the early 1980s in college basketball. It had certainly become the land of the big man in that time period. And none of these guys were a particularly prominent program. They all ended up building teams that became regional powers and got to the tournament, essentially through finding players in unexpected places and playing a game very different than the Lanier, Abdul-Jabbar, Walton dominated big man game of the 1970s. So it's an origin story of these coaches and also of a different approach to the game, which became more prominent during the 1980s and 1990s.
Speaking of the three coaches in the title of your book, rank those coaches an all-time greatest for me. Give they top 5, they top 10. It's a tough list, but they're all three really good coaches. Gary Williams, one of my favorite. Out of the blue, won the championship. Well, not out of blue, but a great run at Maryland. And man, that was fun to watch. But those three coaches, give me your rankings on those guys.
I'd rank Calhoun first just because he built a program that's been so steady and consistent since then, and they just found a way to get the job done in March. There's something to that they cultivated a certain approach to the game that made that possible. One thing that was very evident to me from talking with people when I did interviews for the book, I spoke with over 100 people for the book, players, coaches, media members, that they could look and see players at UConn, whether it was Kemba Walker or Ray Allen or whoever it was from that run, and they could see very clear parallels to the guys who played for Calhoun at Northeastern, that he built up a certain playing culture, whether it was crashing the boards, playing aggressive defensively, having strong ball handling. The same style of players seem to emerge time after time for his programs. I guess I'd put Pitino second just because he was able to be successful in so many different places. And no slight at all, Gary Williams third certainly built a incredibly strong program in the land of the Giants in the ACC. I mean, where that Maryland program was when he took over in the very late 1980s, they had NCAA sanctions. They'd won just one conference game. And within a
Yeah.
handful of years, they're a major power. And I think if you want to talk about somebody who built a program the right way, it's Gary Williams at Maryland. He never bought into the AAU stuff. He got a bunch of guys from suburban DC, from Maryland, from Virginia, as far afield as he would go is like Hampton Roads or Norfolk or something. So he really just built a team up with local guys. There was plenty of talent in that area. And with the flex offense, certainly got a very particular style of play going, one that he began to evolve, first of all, working as an assistant for Tom Davis at BC, but then later on during his own tenure at the school.
all right. Yeah. You were talking about that style of run and gun basketball. And I don't know if you've ever watched any Memphis games, but that is absolutely what the fans here like. And we would have probably kept Tubby Smith longer had he adopted that style, but that's just not his style.
Oh, I covered Cincinnati basketball for a bunch of years, so I've watched a lot of Memphis basketball over the years and had great admiration for the program. I think to me, it's been one of the most consistently interesting programs in the country.
All right.
Clayton, I tell you what, I'm impressed how you put this book together. I like it because this went on during a time period where really it was in the shadow of the dynasty of the Celtics, and yet these type of teams played the same type of basketball that the Celtics did back in the day: fast break, up tempo, move the ball, share the ball, post up play, spot up and shoot it, and also defense, which led to the offense. This is something that was taught not only at professional level in Boston, but at the college level and also in the
I agree with that completely. And I think one of the major aspects of the book is that in many ways, what's old is new, that this style had disappeared for a while, but there's a strong legacy back to the New York Celtics of the 1920s, to what Holy Cross was doing in the 40s and 50s, City College. You look at even the Auerbach era Celtic style. This is in many ways a return to that, away from what, Hank Iba was doing, or what ended up becoming the style at UCLA, even though that was, certainly a land of pressing and the fast break and everything. Eventually, eventually Wooden moves into very much building around the big man. And just with necessity being the mother of invention, these programs who really couldn't recruit with the heavyweights had to find guys very capable of playing the style. You end up with many NBA guys who had very good NBA careers, whether it was Michael Adams or Reggie Lewis, who were essentially underappreciated recruits who end up becoming major stars in this town in this particular time period. And in regards to the Celtics having a shared style, I think that's a very astute observation. One of the reasons for this is that every September before Celtics training camp, they would go to Boston College and play against the BC guys. They would play against the really good players from BU and Northeastern, just playing pickup games, like 2 Celtics and 3 college guys against 3 Celtics and 2 college guys for like a month before the whole thing got going. The best basketball in Boston was at the Roberts Center, which was basically like a bowling alley that BC played at in the 70s and 80s before they built their new bigger arena. I mean, it was a 4,000 seat arena that had this kind of like tartan squared floor. Everybody said it was the worst floor in the Big East, and there were some very bad ones early on because you had a lot of these really old field houses in the conference. Whether it was at Seton Hall or Villanova, had these very ancient buildings. But the BC floor, everybody said was just the worst. But you had Walton and McHale and Ainge and Bird sometimes, Parrish sometimes coming down and playing against these college guys. And for them, it built up a lot of confidence. They go into Boston College was hardly the darling of the Big East in this time period, but on 2 occasions they won the regular season title in the early 1980s with Williams. And in part it's because these guys had such confidence because they were playing, the world champion Celtics every September before they got into the season. When they got into March Madness and they're playing Texas Tech or whoever, they're not intimidated by them. They were playing against Robert Parrish and Danny Ainge, a few months back.
Tell me without giving a lot of it away, what's your favorite part of doing this book and why?
I think my favorite part was getting a sense of the teams and the relationships on the teams. These are all young men away from home for the first time. Many of them really never having any interaction with college whatsoever before. And just the friendship and loyalties they built with each other. I hope it's kind of an inspirational book in a way. There's a lot of negativity about what's going on in college athletics. These guys are student athletes. I mean, with an emphasis on student who are in this book for the most part. These are guys who are doing their studies. These are guys who got degrees. I mean, one thing to think about, most of the guys I got in touch with through this book, I got in touch with through LinkedIn, which is, the world of professionals, basically. These are guys who got their education, who went out and had careers. A handful of them ended up playing in the NBA, but most of them have been very successful in other fields. And I think the degree to which education mattered to a lot of these players is very striking. Was clear to me as I researched the book.
You're listening to. Oh, go ahead, Clayton, if you had more.
No, that's all. Thanks.
You're listening to Clayton Trutor right here on ATL Prime Sports. You can find Clayton on Twitter at Clayton Trutor. That's ClaytonTrutor. And of course, Clayton's newest book, Boston Ball, Rick Pitino, Jim Calhoun, Gary Williams, and the Forgotten Cradle of Basketball Coaches will be out in November. I'm going to switch the subjects just a little bit here. And I want to get your thoughts on that big news that happened Tuesday, Clayton. I saw you tweet about it a little bit. I got my Tiger Woods hat on here in honor of it. Your thoughts on the LIV and the PGA Golf Tour merger?
I'm disgusted by it. I'm hardly the world's biggest golf fan. I'm the kind of guy who watches the last couple of hours of each major kind of thing every year down the stretch as it's competitive. But I know so many people to whom the PGA's mattered so much, and the PGA made such a stink about the thing, and I think made some very good points about some of the reasons one wouldn't want to be associated with LIV, and then within a year they get into bed with them, and in my mind lose by a first round knockout. In a strange way, I tweeted about how it reminds me of the AFL-NFL merger, that LIV obviously has big oil money behind it. The AFL, with whether it was Bud Adams or Lamar Hunt, it was a bunch of big oil guys, a lot of them kind of like the sons of wealthy oil barons who use their money to get into pro sports. I mean, the AFL has often been presented as being the little guy that could, fighting against the NFL. Those guys had a lot more money than George Halas and Bidwill and, these guys who their NFL team was their family business, as opposed to, the sons of multimillionaires who are getting in the league as a plaything. And I sort of see a parallel with that.
Clayton, watching them, I mentioned earlier, watching the Mets and the Braves, and of course, Glavine, Chipper, Smoltz, and Jeff Francoeur, and you also wrote another book, near and dear to the folks here in Atlanta called Loserville, How Professional Sports Remade Atlanta and How Atlanta Remade Professional Sports. The broadcast on Bally's, I still like to call it Fox on occasion. Listening to these guys talking about their times when they played with each other and ultimately they played against each other late in their careers. Kind of tie that in, because the Braves they're a huge part of the success of Atlanta sports in the last 30 years, and you've talked about that in your other book. What does that mean to you?
It's really the culmination of 60 years of effort. You had civic leaders in Atlanta in the early 1960s, Mayor Ivan Allen, the Chamber of Commerce, who dreamed that pro sports would play this role that bound people together in the city, that it would be a way to promote Atlanta to the country. And it took a long time. And there's no franchise that took the brunt of that more than the Braves, because they're playing 162 games. They're in the news 9-10 months a year. And the Braves losing, I guess, probably impacted them as much as any of Atlanta's franchises, in the sense that they became the face of Atlanta losing, because they're the one who by far lost the most games and ended up having a national platform eventually through TBS. And the Braves turning things around and becoming really the darling of Major League Baseball, and with Schuerholz running the ship and building up such a strong franchise year after year. They went from being really the laughingstock of baseball to being the franchise that everybody wanted to be like. So I find that a very inspiring story, what they've created, and having these guys be the old guys now sitting around talking about being upstarts at one point. I think is particularly moving. That the previous generations, what did they have to talk about? I mean, there was the Aaron home run record, but outside of that, there's really was a lot of losing to talk about for the most part. So it's just changed the culture of sports in Atlanta and the expectations of people there. They expect their teams to win. They go out and they do that, and the Braves have really done a fantastic job for almost 30 years now. I mean, the public memory of the Braves not being good is a waning thing, and it's the result of the efforts of those guys and the people that were around them.
Yeah, it's amazing, and what the front office has done with the battery and everything around it. You see, every sports franchise is referring to the term they want a battery-like atmosphere. So it's absolutely transcended Atlanta sports into really a national city with Ted Turner included, and that's all in your book there. So Clayton, I want to say thanks for coming on, man. We always appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome. And signing off, we'll let you promote that book one more time. Tell our listeners where they can find you and how they can buy that book and that promo code one more time.
Wayne, Todd, JJ, thank you so much for having me on. My previous book is Loserville, How Professional Sports Remade Atlanta, How Atlanta Remade Professional Sports. It's available everywhere now. If you watch the new Secret Base documentary, which is about the 1995 World Series, Loserville gets featured in that, so go check that out on YouTube. My new book is Boston Ball. Rick Pitino, Jim Calhoun, Gary Williams, and the Forgotten Cradle of Basketball Coaches. If you go to bit.ly/Boston Ball, you can find the book, and you can pre-order and save 40% off the cover price. Save yourself like $15 by using promo code 6FWC23. And I have that on my Twitter account at Clayton Trutor, so you can come check out that promo code anytime. Thank you guys so much, and what a pleasure to come on.
Yeah.
Hey, Clayton, we'll have to have you back on later on. I know you write about college football and basketball for Super Nation, so we'll get your thoughts on some other things and those sports before toe meets leather in the fall.
You know me, I love to run my mouth. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to make sure all those links and everything are in the comment of the YouTube video or the description area, so people have easy access to those and be able to look those up quickly.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Clayton, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Clayton Trutor, right here on ATL Prime Sports. Check out his latest book come November, right here. We'll tweet it out. And Boston Ball, Jim Calhoun, Rick Pitino, and Gary Williams, the forgotten cradle of basketball coaches. Thanks again, Clayton. We'll see you soon.
Thank you guys. Take care.
We'll move on with this show, and we'll talk about what I asked Clayton about and the huge merger between LIV and PGA. They are now unified. This was after an agreement was reached Tuesday between the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or the PIF. That means that LIV Golf and PGA Golf could be one and the same in the near future. Gentlemen, your thoughts on this merger? Todd, I'm excited to hear what you got. We'll go quickly on this because we want to talk a lot of baseball. So your quick thoughts on the LIV Golf PGA Tour merger?
Well, it's pretty simple. I have a saying, you guys know what it is. Follow the money from Pee Wee to the pros. You'll get your answer. I stated when this first happened, these guys would merge because of the money, and they have. And you know what? I mean, I just don't know how they were not going to merge. There was too much money for each one of them to make, and now they can make a ton of money. But before that happens, you've got a lot of golfers who stayed loyal to the PGA Tour, like Tiger Woods, turned down, $750 million approximately to stay in the PGA Tour. He could have took that money, joined LIV Golf, and he'd be right back in the PGA Tour. And then the guys that did take the money, that went to LIV Golf, they're right back in the Tour. They got their money, and they have a chance to make more. And, from the beginning, Jay Monahan talked about how the PGA Tour, has to be so loyal to the 9/11, the fund and everything that's going on. And now that they've merged, all these people think they've slapped them directly in the face. And I can't argue with that at all. I mean, I really don't know how Jay Monahan the PGA Tour commissioner can spin it any other way. I mean, he can try to spin it in 40 different directions. The bottom line is they merged, and for all the good points that he mentioned, not about becoming involved with LIV Golf and the Saudi money and et cetera, they went ahead and took it. So, I mean, the bottom line is the money speaks, and it decides people's actions whether they're right or wrong.
Wayne, your quick thoughts on the LIV PGA Tour golf merger?
Well, this is going to be very pitiful on my behalf because I've got some family members that follow golf intensely. And frankly, I really don't care. I don't know why I don't care. Maybe it's because I don't follow enough golf, or maybe it's because it's just one big rolling downhill mess at this point. And, at some point it's going to hit the bottom of that hill and we'll be right back where we were.
It's an interesting point. If I might say, Wayne, it became a mess, and the ball did roll down the hill. And Monahan said, "Look, people are going to call me a hypocrite," which basically is when he said it in a video conference with reporters on Tuesday. And now he said, anytime I said anything, I said it with the information they had at the moment, and I said it based on someone that's trying to compete for the PGA Tour and our players. I accept those criticisms, but circumstances do change. And he said, I think that is looking at the big picture, looking at it this way, that's what got us to the point. In other words, the money got him to the point, the circumstance changed, it was a chance for everyone to make money, and that is the bottom line, is the money. And you know what? A lot of PGA Tour golfers are probably really ticked off in Monahan right now because they had a chance
Yeah, no, I'm much to do with Todd. Yeah, your quote really works here. I think it's a basic cop out most of the time, but I like it in this point. From Pee Wee to the pros, follow the money, and Live Golf had unlimited money backing. Do I like what happened? I don't like the politics of the situation. I'll leave it at that. That's my answer on the backside. But looking at strictly the golf thing, you're trying to make good out of a game, give players more opportunities to play in different tournaments. My biggest thing was the Phil Mickelson lawsuit versus the PGA Tour. A lot of that stuff's going to come out into the public here recently. There's other players possibly jumping on. Maybe monopoly was the word thrown around by other golfers. 90% of PGA golfers are upset with it. Rory McIlroy, surprisingly, the second biggest figure in golf behind Tiger Woods right here on my head, has come around on the idea already because he knows that hopefully this is the end of Live Golf and things can go back to focusing on the PGA Tour in his eyes.
Well,
But
you know
according to
what?
Greg Norman,
I was going to say.
according to Greg Norman,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry,
Todd.
Hey, I'm sorry. What I was going to say, the $1 million question. What in October? Remember when Mickelson suggested that the PGA Tour and the Live Golf needed to come together? Monahan told ESPN at the President's Cup in North Carolina that it would never happen, and yet it did. Of course it did because of the money.
Yeah. I was getting right to that point, and Todd took the words out of my mouth. So now I won't have to say that. Thank you. But again, Phil Mickelson was bringing things to light and saying earlier, right when he finished second in the Masters, saying, "Hey, things are going to come to light here, and I think we'll be able to play in the PGA Tour events in the near future." And he was right. And you got to feel bad if you're a PGA Tour golfer, like let's say Ricky Fowler, who has publicly been adamant saying he was offered for Live and turned it down to stay loyal to PGA. So to me, I'm like Wayne. I don't really care. I just think it's good for the game of golf. I personally think the biggest thing to me was you have guys like Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, who just won the PGA Championship, by the way. Another for the third time, one of the greatest golfers in the world, a two-time champion, Masters champion, Bubba Watson, and they're not even included in the world rankings. That's what I think was the worst part about this. Live Golf was a professional golf organization, and you were punishing the players for playing in a professional setting. Do the players create the politics on the backside? Absolutely not. So like Todd said, it really is the best answer here, but it's follow the money. And Live had unlimited backing from oil money, and this really is kind of like the AFL and the NFL merger, where together, hopefully they can come together and make a better statement for the game of golf and come together, and hopefully all three of these leagues can flourish, and golf fans alike can be centered around world golf rankings that include everyone. I think that was the biggest thing for me was the world golf rankings. I did not think it was fair that the Live golfers were not included in those world rankings. Guys, any final thoughts on this? And we'll go to our Major League Baseball topic.
Two things real quick. What happens to Greg Norman? I mean, you haven't heard a thing from him. I'm thinking his days are probably, numbered. During the Live Golf, it looks like he's not going to be part of it.
Todd. Hold that thought. Greg Norman, in a New York Times article written yesterday, says Live Golf will continue moving forward, and he thinks there will be a place for it. So according to the commissioner of Live Golf, he does not think they are going anywhere, especially at least moving forward through 2023. The events for each of the three tours will move forward as planned. And folks, I will have to admit this. This could be pushed back by the Federal Trade Commission. This could all fall through, this merger. They still have to get it federally agreed upon. And that was my final thought. Go ahead, TC. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I'm glad you said it. And you know what the future schedule and the tournaments and the formats look like? I guarantee the PGA Tour is going to have an event in Saudi. It's going to happen. You're going to have it in Saudi Arabia. I guarantee you're going to see a PGA Tour event in Saudi Arabia. And another question is, what happens to Live Golf after the season? I mean, the Saudis invested more than $2 billion into this adventure. And also, with the league's lawyers going back and forth to one another, they had to come to this conclusion with the money. Why sit here and spend all that money going back and forth lawyering up when you can just go ahead and combine as one? And then the last question is, will the PGA Tour give the Live guys their cards back? Yes, they will. They're going to get their cards back. It's going to take some time, but they're going to get it. I mean, Monahan, he's gone this far into the sand, crossing over. You might as well finish it.
Yeah, and that about wraps up our Live PGA Tour merger discussion. It's been a good one. Guys, I enjoyed the conversation. Let's move on to some Major League Baseball. Before we do, take a quick second. Guys, if you like the content, ladies too, please like, subscribe, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, Apple and Spotify. Let's move on to our Major League Baseball topic for the evening. The season is approaching the midway point. Let's go around the horn with Major League Baseball, and why not start in the NL East? Which team is the biggest challenge to the Atlanta Braves in this division? Todd, I'll start with you.
Well, currently it looks like it's Florida. I mean, you got a kid going for 400 here, and they're all of a sudden 7 or 8 games above 500. You know, Alvarez was the first Marlin to hit for the cycle on April 11th, and now he's flirting with he's got that 403 average here in June. The late Ted Williams was the last player in the American League and National League history to hit 400. So, doing so back in 41, hit 406. I remember George Brett hit 390 back in the day with Kansas City. So, can he do it? I don't know. But, watching the Mets tonight, I honestly, I just don't see them going away. They don't strike out much. Verlander and Scherzer are going to get it together despite their age. They're going to pitch well. I still think the Mets and the Marlins, and probably the Mets first, once they start playing ball, once Scherzer and Verlander pitch, once it comes together, I think they're going to give Atlanta a run. They don't strike out much. They put the ball in play. They put the ball all over the field. They have a pretty good defense. This is a team that doesn't have Atlanta's bullpen. I think that's where the biggest difference is between the two teams. But I definitely think the Mets are going to give Atlanta a run. I don't see the Braves running away with this division.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see the Braves running away with this division either. The Mets are too good. The Phillies were in the World Series last year. But I do think the Marlins might be the biggest challenger to the Atlanta Braves. Their young pitching's coming around. Their ace, Alcantara, hasn't been his self of late. He's starting to come around. He's had a couple good outings here. Again, you mentioned Reyes hitting over 400, and that kind of leads me to my next question. I'm the same answer. I'm not going to repeat the same stuff. I think it's the same teams. I do think the Phillies are going to come around here. They'll start hitting. I think Trey Turner will start hitting eventually. He's one of the best players in baseball. So my answers are the same. It's the Phillies, the Mets, and the Marlins. And to me, they're all tied. I think they're all very, very good at what they're doing right now. So my next question is, sticking with these Marlins, the Marlins have a player doing something that hasn't been done since 2008. We already mentioned his name. Hitting 400 plus, 62 games into the season, the last player to do that, well, he's broadcasting in the Atlanta Braves game tonight. His name's Chipper Jones. So this is a historic season. Will the Marlins second baseman Luis Reyes finish the year hitting 400? Look, I don't think so. Just Todd mentioned it. It hasn't been done since Ted Williams. This is pretty insane. His approach, though, I will tell him, will get him in the ballpark. And with the lack of the shift and the new rules, I think he will be close. And I mentioned this with Todd off air. I said, I think someone this season will come close to hitting 400 because of the lack of the shift. And hey, if it isn't June almost halfway through the season here, and we got a guy doing it, his approach is second to none, folks. All this talk about launch angle and all that, get it out of here, because this guy's pitching, hitting for contact. He's keeping his bat in the zone for extended periods of time, and he's having a great year just by putting balls in play, keeping them mid-low level line drives, ground balls through the center of the infield. And it's just fun to watch. It's absolutely refreshing. I'm not going to say he's going to hit 400. My answer to that is no, but I will say he gets close, and I think he may be able to flirt with it until the very last game of the season. Todd, your thoughts on Arraez and his chances at hitting 400 that hasn't been done in, 60-something years, more than that even?
I mean, the odds are no. I mean, they are, but when I look at these figures here, the highest batting average in teams' first 63 games since 41 based on the current qualification rules. You know, Galarraga in 93 was 435. You mentioned Chipper in 08. Larry Walker in 97 was 416. Ted Williams, we mentioned. Rod Carew in 83 was 409. Paul O'Neill in 94 was 405. We mentioned the Florida player Tony Gwynn in 97 was hitting 402. Stan Musial in 48 was hitting 402, and John Olerud in 93 was hitting 400. So, you know, guys have made some noise. We mentioned George Brett earlier, ended up 390. That's actually the closest somebody has came. And, you know, the odds are 4 out of 10. You just don't get it. But I'll tell you what, if he does, it would be great for the game of baseball, because it would take the focus of settling for a base hit, hitting the ball where it's pitched, putting the ball in play. You can't strike out a lot. And, oh, by the way, the conversation of the home run goes away. I would love to see it.
Yeah, Luis Arraez, number 1 in MLB power rankings per hitters for MLB.com. And another impressive stat, active players with more base on balls than Ks. Well, Luis Arraez is right there with one other player, that's Juan Soto. It's 156 base on balls to 142 Ks. You can't make this stuff up. This guy's having an unprecedented season. Get him in the All-Star game, Braves fans. This guy's the best second baseman in the National League right now. Let's stick in the East. In the region, we'll stick with the AL East. Everybody's knocking the cover off the baseball. Every team seems to be World Series beaters one week, and then the next they're in the back door of the division, and the Rays just keep climbing. It's such a great division. Lots of stories here. How serious is Tampa Bay as World Series contenders? And any other comments on the AL East, just throw them in right here, guys. But look, I think they're the best team in baseball, and this is no fluke. They've been building this for a couple years. What was it, 2020? They played the Dodgers in the World Series. They've been right there in the division ever since. Great general management, great front office, and they do it with a payroll that's near the bottom of baseball. Hats off to the Tampa Bay Rays. They put on they put on a show each and every night, and I gotta say they got to be the front runners for the American League pennant right now. Todd, your thoughts on the
well, between them and Texas and Baltimore, and there's a long way to go. I mean, we're just in June, so. But what impresses me the most about the Rays is they pitch and they play defense and they timely hit. And if you can do those things, you can be in every game. Now, it is unconventional, but, you know, their bullpen is locked down. They get excellent starting pitching, the timely hitting. Randy Arozarena is just having one heck of a season with a bat and the glove. And Walls, I mean, these guys turn incredible around-the-horn double plays. This is a really good team without many holes. You would love to see Tampa pick up another bat in the middle of the order if they could, but they're going to be an extreme tough out.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see how they go moving forward. Like I said, right now, I feel like they aren't. This isn't a fluke. I feel like they're going to be right there at the end of the year. I do see them as AL pennant contenders, no doubt about it. Wander Franco leads the team with 72 hits. Diaz got 12 home runs, 316 average there. And you already mentioned Arozarena, man. He's leading the team with 43 RBIs. Tampa Bay's just having a great year. They're getting good innings from the bullpen. They like to do the opener. They got the Jalen Beeks guy who comes in, does their opener every now and then. So they got a pretty good pitching staff from top to bottom. I think Wayne had a comment about the AL East. Wayne, go ahead and insert that comment here.
Well, my comment is this, and you can, note this that I said this now, but I predict that by the end of September, you're going to end up with the Yankees on top by several games, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Too many injuries for me for New York. They just can't stay healthy. Aaron Judge is on the IL. He ran into the wall in Los Angeles, hurt his big toe. The Yankees can't stay healthy. They can't stay healthy in the lineup, and they certainly can't stay healthy in the pitching staff. I like Tampa to win this division, but I like Baltimore to finish second and New York to sit where they are right now. I mean, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to shift back and talk about the local club here, Atlanta. And I tell you what, folks are still Michael Harris to me is a kid that is hitting the ball on the screws. I know he's hitting 186. I get it. But I'm telling you, by the end of the season, he still has enough bats in him where he can still hit around 270 and turn this thing around. And can you imagine, JJ, if he does, and they leave him at the bottom of the order there with Arcia, and then you flip to the top of the order with Acuna. I mean, that is just a devastating lineup where pitchers don't get a chance to breathe. Not only can these guys put the ball in play, but they have power, and Arcia has power too. But Harris and Arcia and Acuna, they all put the ball in play. They put it all over the field, and their speed back to back to back, 8, 9, and 1, is relentless, and it really tires out a pitching staff because they're going to take a lot of bases, especially with the new rules. But also, they mentioned on the broadcast tonight, pitchers are getting used to having to do that sidestep again, JJ, where, they've got to learn to hold runners on because even without the rules, they're going now on the first pitch. They're not even waiting to throw over. It's refreshing to see in Major League Baseball with the run game.
And you mentioned Money Mike. He had a home run the other night. He's having a pretty good series. Had a double in the game as we're speaking right now. They're down 10-6 in the third game of a 3-game set with division rival New York Mets. So he's starting to come around. I'm glad you mentioned the Braves. That was going to be my final thought on Major League Baseball. Look, they've come out of their 10 or 12 game stretch where they were under 500. They're starting to win. They've won 3 or 4 straight here. And it just seems like this is the team that's just poised to keep pushing. They don't have a problem in their lineup at all, especially with Ozuna hitting right now. He's one of the hottest hitters in baseball. They're playing great defense all around, and that'll pull away. So to me, if the Marlins, the Phillies, and the Mets don't start hitting and don't start competing at a higher level defensively, this division could be run away with because Atlanta just doesn't have any hiccups in the lineup, man. They just don't.
No, but they do have a hiccup on the mound, and
they do right now.
It is the starting pitching because of the injuries, and that is one thing that can make this a very close race in the East to the end. And you know what? It seems the Mets have Spencer Strider's number. I mean, they've hit him before. They're hitting him tonight. You've got Strider, Morton, and Elder. And then after that, you're looking for starting pitching for Atlanta. You just are. You're relying on young guy Schuster, and you're relying on Smith Scheuer, who's going to get his start. And then, of course, it's a team with injuries. So to me, the rotation.
That's what I'm saying. There's no hiccups in their batting order right now. The hiccups are in the with Wright and Freed.
No question.
And if Wright and Freed can get healthy and this team is still in contention, they'll be just fine. But if Wright and Freed are not healthy at the end of the season and those arm issues continue, this will be an interesting division moving forward. But the Braves are hitting on all cylinders on offense right now. They just got to figure out a way to get some guys out in the front end of the rotation. The bullpen's on a tear last 10 games or so, sub 2.3 ERA, so 2.3 that is. So the bullpen's starting to turn it around, especially AJ Minter, Rossell Iglesias. They're starting to iron out those kinks from the beginning of the season. So this is an interesting ball club moving forward. Injuries is always been a key under Brian Snitker's management, and what he has done to manage through them has been how this franchise has been so successful. Guys, any final thoughts on Major League Baseball? Go ahead, Todd.
I was going to say, I like what you said. The steady ship that Snicker runs, and he runs it with consistency on a daily basis. He has been an outstanding manager. He is now third in victories for a Atlanta Braves manager all time. And, that says a lot about him. And I think I said this earlier in one of our shows, and I'm going to say it again. Michael Soroka, to me, is a bulldog, a big-time competitor, and I still think he's going to come back and help the Atlanta Braves this season. He is so close. He just needs to refine his off-speed pitches via location, and when he does, look out. He's going to help Atlanta a lot, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was on the postseason roster. That's how much I think he's going to turn it around. You come back from these injuries that he's came back from, and they're well documented, and you're still here, that tells me you're going to finish.
Yeah, I like the thought, TC. Wayne, any final thoughts on Major League Baseball before we get out of here?
Nope, not really. I'm just holding my breath to see what happens with Texas down the road.
Yeah,
hey, JJ, let me ask you something. I know
was awful.
JJ, I want to ask you something. I know you're a big fan, and this is what I like. You're a real big fan of guys coming up out of the minor leagues and getting the opportunity, and I am too, and in making a big splash and then just taking off from there. And talking about a dude making a big splash, Matt McClain of the Reds last month, this kid has a chance to make the All-Star roster for Cincinnati. He's turned into Derek Jeter. And then the other one who just made the recent splash for Cincinnati, it's just too bad the Reds don't have pitching. I mean, they're around. They're in the NL Central. But Ellie De La Cruz, this kid, JJ, has done it all in his first two games.
Yeah, unbelievable. Already hit a bomb. Great double, I believe, in one of his, if not his first at bat. Guy looks really good. You mentioned another one, Smith Shawver, right here in Atlanta, Money Mike. It really is kind of, I compare it to like the NFL. These guys are coming up and they're expecting them to play baseball at a higher level much quicker than in the early 90s. That's my final thought, guys. Let's move to our final thought of the evening. It's been a wonderful show. Again, if you like the content, please please subscribe. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course, Apple and Spotify. Final thought, the Las Vegas Golden Knights are up 2-0 on the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. Vegas got it done with offense in the first two games, scoring 12 goals. Will that continue in Game 3 tonight, which is underway as we speak? And I'm going to get you guys a quick score right quick.
It's 1-1, 5:47 to go in the second period.
Boom.
And
My internet didn't load quick enough.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, for Florida, it's all about Bob Roski in the net. If he's on, they've got a chance. If he's not on, they're in trouble. And, Mark Stone has had a great series for Las Vegas. He just tied it up on a power play goal. And my final thought is that De La Cruz for Cincinnati, this kid, he's hit a home run, a triple, which is really hard to do in Great American Ballpark, a double and a single. struck him out a couple times. We'll see how Ellie De La Cruz adjusts as he gets more bats in the major league. But him running to first and from home plate to third base is the fastest anybody's done this season, and he almost hit one into the Ohio River against the Dodgers the other night. Going to be a fun player to watch. He can play all over the infield, third, short, and et cetera. It'll be interesting to see what the Reds do.
Wayne, your final thought for the show, my friend. You're signing us off.
Well, it's been quite a long show, and I appreciate everybody being here, and I'm ready to get this thing edited so everybody else can enjoy it.
Well, guys, again, if you like the content, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We'll see you next week for TC on the north side of Atlanta. For Wayne in Memphis, I'm JJ in Lilburn. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you. Get you one.